Welcome to the Carefree SkyRanch Safety Briefing. SkyRanch is a private airport and prior permission is required to use the facilities. Please contact the airport manager's office to book your arrival at SkyRanch. The office hours are 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and can be reached by calling 480-488-3571. Once you have received permission to land, please plan on entering the pattern with a 45-degree entry for the appropriate runway. Our traffic pattern is 3,500 MSL for reciprocating aircraft and 4,000 MSL for turbine aircraft. We encourage respect for our neighbors by flying quietly. Your cooperation is greatly appreciated by airport owners and our neighbors. Please stay south of the airport while in the traffic pattern and plan for left traffic on runway 24 or right traffic on runway 6. When landing on runway 24, your base turn is made when you are east of the power substation. Pilots arriving to runway 24 are cautioned to consider that the runway has a 2% downslope and the threshold is displaced by 500 feet. Pilots arriving to runway 6 at night are cautioned about reduced visibility and unfavorable easterly winds that may bring them close to the terrain at the west end of the airport. In most cases, it is preferable to depart on runway 24 and land on runway 6. Treating SkyRanch as a high-density altitude and short-field airport will lead to performance planning and flying techniques that yield the maximum margin of safety. Aggressively fly on speed to your aim point in the touchdown zone. Remember, the downslope of runway 24 creates the illusion of being too low in your aircraft, and the upslope of runway 6 creates the illusion of being too high in your aircraft. It is common and desirable to use both runway 6 and runway 24 simultaneously. Pilots must exercise vigilance and proper radio techniques on frequency 122.725. If you like to land on off-pavement runways, we have a gravel strip adjacent to our paved runway on the south side. It is approximately 1,700 feet long and 50 feet wide. Please note that the threshold is displaced 500 feet, just like our paved runway. The traffic pattern for our gravel strip is identical to the traffic pattern of our paved runways. Run-ups are permitted only at the designated areas on the thresholds of the paved runways 24 and 6. Runway operation on the unpaved runway are different from the paved runway to protect the assets of the airport, homes, hangars, and taxiways. Ground operation etiquette is a must if you choose to operate on the unpaved runway. Simultaneous operation on the paved and unpaved runway are prohibited at SkyRanch. Pilots using the unpaved runway must conduct all operations within the marked confines of the runway. Ground operations needs to be conducted at a minimum power setting, and pilots must be sensitive to the surrounding homes, hangars, taxiways, and runways while on the unpaved runway. And don't forget to keep your prop wash at a minimum. Departure from our unpaved runway is prohibited at SkyRanch. When landing on the unpaved runway, pass over the run-up area and be sure your touchdown point is beyond the displaced threshold of the paved runway. After landing on the unpaved runway, the pilot should continue down the unpaved runway at low power and exit at the taxiway at the west end of the unpaved runway. Remember to keep your prop wash at a minimum. Here is an example of what it looks like from the cockpit with the pilot landing at the displaced threshold and exiting the unpaved runway at idle power in the recommended way. Here is a view of the plane exiting the unpaved runway from inside and outside of the cockpit. Note that the pilot is exiting the unpaved runway at the west end directly on the paved taxiway. When using the unpaved runway, pilots are reminded to stay within the marked confines of the unpaved runway, to practice good pilot etiquette, to enter and exit the runway at idle power only, to never depart from the unpaved runway, to perform run-ups only in the designated areas, and that no simultaneous operations are allowed on the paved and unpaved runways. We thank you for your cooperation.